Shin Lamed Ches. Shin Lamed Ches. We'll just take a look at this real briefly, because I didn't do this in the RASHASH, I don't think, and there's a chance here for a little refresher course on the language of the RASHASH. So this is when you say Hayom. So this picture here, difference from what we've learned before, where you have the Ekya, which is 21 plus it's 10 letters in the Milui, which is a technique I'm not sure. Well, it makes the number 31. And we speculated before whether or not this is always what Kael means. It always means a lavush, like we see there. But instead of going to Adni, which it did before, it goes into Havayah. So the question is, what's the difference? What's going on? Why do we need both of these? There was a question previously, why did you bring in the Adni first and then Havayah second? We know that the real order was Havayah into Adni. So why do we have here Adni first? That was a question that we had back when. So let's turn the page back to number Shin Lamed Vav. I don't know if we did this. I do have notes on it, but I want to do it again. He says right like this. He says Nakdim es Lashon Rabbi Hakavanot. He said Vizel Lashona. So I'm reading down here in the very beginning where it says Nakdim. So he said, so when we say that phrase, the Kavan ki Yom hu begematria Kael Havayah. So it's close. So Yom is, I think, 56. This is 57. So he says in any case, I think so. Kael is 31 and 26, 57. The Kavanah is like this. Kain tekaven lahamshik shem Kael bezer anben hanikvacha b'vaya adkan l'shona, who is called Havayah. That's what he says. So we're doing both. So again, are we doing Adni first and then Havayah second? Behind the Geshem Shabbatavos SEFIRAT HAOMER, that we said that. El Hanug Shemos Kael Shehem Levusha Hachug. So we're sending those Levushim first. Kain al Derigazecha Mekuvanim Antacha B'Tevus Hayom Lahamshik Deza as Shemos Kael Shehem Levusha Hachug. Same thing. So also we did, when we said, just get some words again, that we already streamed down or poured down the Zer Anpin, the Chug of the Levusheichem B'Tevis Havayah de Bracha. Sham Nimshkoch B'Locha Chug de Bechinas Ach, but that's only a Chug that's coming from the Acharayim. And here we're going to be mamshichin bechinas abanim. Now I'm a little confused about what he said here, so let's try to see if I can understand it better as we go on. This is the way that the Sar Shalom Siddur went. In other words, the RASHASH, Rash. So he says in Os Taf, if you look back over there, so he explains over there in detail, Hashitos are shown as Bezeh, Vinekan Mamshichin Rachas Levusha Hachug, Below Esachug Atzman Ein Shefach RASHASH. Now we have to go over that a little bit. That's a part, I don't know which Chug he's talking about. He's talking about the Chug the Acharayim and the Chug the Panim. That's what's confusing me. Let me go on. So you take the word Yom, Ima Kolel, is Gematria Kael Havayah. It becomes the same Gematria then. So he says, let's go down to the next one, Kuf Kaf Dalet. He says, Laham Shech Asara Kael. So what you're going to take, you put those Kaels together. Mizbar Pashat ve'eser osis the Asera Ekya, and then also the 10 letters as which we know the Levusha Panim the Chug de'ima. But here, this is where he straightens out, I think, a little bit. He's talking about this where Mamshech the Levusha the Panim of the Chasadim and the Gevurah de'ima. So let's see. I think this is just pretty much a repeat of that. And so where are we going to send it? We're going to send it to Arush Shemus Havayah de Panim. Now, before he said that, I think that what he was saying was a little confusing to me. I think that was saying that in the first place, when we had the bracha, And maybe when we sent also into the Kael into the Nook. Let's getting mixed up here. So we sent the Kael. Let me see. So because the Shem is Havayah the Panim, he says that we also sent the Kael. Excuse me, into Adni. There we go. The Shem is Havayah the Panim. The Partzufi Chagat V'nai the Mahu Ben Dezun. Now we start to get into a situation where we need to translate these words. So he said, Yekavin lahamshichan l'chasar shemus Havayah. So we have the Kavanot to send them into the 10 names of Havayah. Behind the call echad mepartzufi chagat v'nehim, the bechinas Panim. Now, so this is the first part of the kasha that I had before. He says that we're sending everything into chagat nehim. But then we had the question of what is chabad chagat chagtam? What's that? So here we say that this is our goal, that we want to send it these places. Behind the call echad mepartzufi chagat nehim, the bechinas Panim, the ma'u ben. So what does ma'u ben mean? It means the right side and the left side, the zun. Okay, so he said, "V'hidach nimshachim kam levusha hachamisha chasadim v'chashnei bechinos klalos the chasadim." So here we're going to namshem mamshech, the clothing of the chamisha chasadim v'chashnei bechinos klalos the chasadim shekeneged yisod yisod. We're taking the 7. V'chein levusha hachamisha gevuros v'chashnei bechinos klalos the gevuros. V'sidra Rashash. So the Rashash then organizes this like this. V'hamshe call echad me'elo hayud dalad bechinas levusha hachug. So we said there's 7 on one side, 7 on the other side, 7 chasad and 7 gevuros. He says so that makes 14. Call echad the sfira achad besfiras chagat nehem dezah. So we're gonna. That's the kavana here. That's what you're saying. You're going to take this shefa and you send it into Zer Anpin. The Shneicha Prakim Shalo, soy, which is called the Chagat, Vatachton, which is called the Nai. So we're going to send it to the Chagat, from the Chagat Nai to the Chagat Nai. The Seta Kuvana on the Sederis Khan is like this, the Kavan Shemisbar Ekia. So he's just showing us, I don't know if you want to go through this again, but just for the sake of the camera, I'll just show it here. He gives it, this is number 1 is the Ekia. Then going back to where we were, number 2 is Ola the Shem Kael. Zeravi Yakavan the Hamshik Shem Kael Hazel, the Shem Havayah, the Zah, Vihir Shem Bezechah Shem Kael Havayah. So he has that number 2 and 3. And then you have the Kael going into the Havayah. That was the idea that we had over there. Okay, so that's a simple look at it. There is a Shefa Rashash down below that I looked at. I thought it was worth looking at again. So he says, the Hamshik Asara Kael, Mimisper Pashut, Ve'eser Osios, the Asara Akya, the Levusha Panim. So these are all the Levushim of the Panim. So previously, whatever we said was there were 2 different things that he said, and I didn't really quite get the distinction between when we take the Kael and we put it into the Adni, or when he said that in the bracha itself, you have Levushim coming in. So I didn't really understand the distinction there too well. So let's see what this says. This bar betiv, the bechinas Havayah, the bracha, nimshikoch hachasad v'chagavors, the bechinas ach lezer anpen. So that's what happens in the Havayah, the bracha. That's when the chasad and the gavors come into zer anpen, but the bechina of the ach. V'shuv la'achar mekan b'tevis sfiras ha'omer. Then you have another time. You have this sfiras ha'omer comes in. You can say the sfiras ha'omer. Nimshko el hanuk. Oh, that means that it goes into the nook. So now he answered my question. Now we come to another word. So we had, first of all, we brought in the ach when we said in the bracha, and then we brought in we brought it over to the nook when we say the Kael into adni. That makes sense. Now over here we're doing different. The bechinas Panim. So now this is where the bechinas of the Panim is going to zer anpen of the on the word Hayom. The bechinas Panim, the hamshacha the ach. The ke'ez b'hamshacha the Panim mamshichim rak as halavushim the chug v'lo as atzba chug. Read again. that up until now, the Kaes are now, v'hamshacha de Panim, when we're bringing this hamshacha de Panim, hamshichim rach es levushit, the chug, v'lo es atzmas achug. Well, I thought that was the same thing over at the other end. The Kavar Havana, so he says, wait a minute, we did. He's a Kavar Havana the Ale. In those tests, he says, Pirshu de la'achar mekan, that bit after this, Beseder hamshachas achug, when we're organizing the flow of the chug, the chiyus, we're pushing everything down. Na'asa b'sfira atzma, it's happening in the sphere itself. He says, "Oz nimshachim atzmas achug deponim." So when the dechiyah starts coming, it's a little bit new to me. He says, "Sheyesh pirshu that la'achar mekan beseder hamshachas achug the dechiyus." So then after this part, then he says, "Ana'asa b'sfira atzmas oz nimshachim atzmas achug." Then the atzmas achug comes in, so it does come in. I guess that we came to that conclusion. So he says, so moving on, he said, "V'yesh la'ayin the ma'achar shenimshachim kan levusha hachug deponim." So now that you see that the levushim of the chug of deponim come, im came koyed tzarek l'sader kan seder havlos hadamin. So where's this coming from? I don't know. He says, if you're bringing in kan the levushim, then you have to have had, I guess, because previous to this you have the havlos adam. Im came koyed tzarek, because the ma'achar nimshachim kan levusha hachug deponim. So that was the thing about the Panim. The Panim side, he says, im came koyed tzarek l'sader kan seder havlos adame. So the Panim side, the havlah causes the Panim to come out, or changes it into a Panim. So therefore, this should have been part of the original description of the Tamuna, I guess, of the Rashash. Like, for example, the Hamshacha that comes from the Vusha Delach, Hana'asa B'Tevis Havayah, that has that Vahainu, the Kavin L'Havliya, so you have to have this Kavanot, Vahainu, the Kavin L'Havliya, Acharayim the Ekya, Ozvav the Havayah the Ma, Va'amda B'Zecham Mefarshim. So let me read it again, I didn't really understand the last part. Behind the Kavin Lahavliya Acharayim the Ekya. Why does it say Acharayim the Ekya, but Oz Vav, the Havayah? Right? Inside of the Vav, there is this Ekya appears inside of it, the Ma. It's in the Havayah the Ma. Va'amda Bezechem Befarshim, the Sedis say like, and they hold like that. That's what happens. Now, when it gets Muvla into the Ma, into that Ekim is Muvla, it becomes a Panim. So that's all I know about this right now. V'da Odin, so understand furthermore, the B'shar Kavanot, Lo Nizgar Kan L'Kavein Eser Hamshachos. So in the Shar Kavanot, they don't say, they don't show you that you have to have a Kavanah here for all 10 of the Hamshachos. V'emba B'sidach Ashkenazim Sidr Kan Rab Hamshacha Achaz Kael Havayah. So here we're going to see, as I turn the page, we're going to see that there's actually 10 Hamshachas here in the Siddur. But in the Siddur of the Ashkenazim, there's only one. Just, that's the way they did it. V'al Rashash Siddur Esa Hamshachos. V'im Hamshachos the Yisod, V'im Hamshachos the Yisod of Malchus, Hem Yudalad. So when you see them all, there's 14 Hamshachos. V'Shem Lamod Cain. Besides that, sheyesh the Kavin Eser Hamshachos, that you have to have in mind over there 10 Hamshachos. The Shesham Hamshacha he gam came mishem Kael, so the Hamshacha is going over there. The same thing is going out of Kael, that name Kael. Lama Bisham Lahamshacha Dedan Shehi gam came as a Hamshachos, so this is also going to be 10. So this is an argument whether or not there's supposed to be 10 or there's just supposed to be 1. We know that from looking in the Rashash Siddur, and sometimes he spells the whole thing out, and sometimes he doesn't spell the whole thing out. I guess he just doesn't. So it means that, etc., like that. Now, let's go on. Let's see where are we at. He says the Zun. Let's see now Kaf Gimel. Hinei le'er b'chamshachas hachug the bechinas ach. Mekuvanim shtei hamshachos. We have in mind there 2 different hamshachos. One in the bracha, echad l'zah, ve'echad l'nuk. The Bechinas of Havayah, the Bracha Nimshach and the Zah. So that one goes to Zah. Ubetevus al Sfiras HAOMER Nimshachim b'meno el Hanuk. So from there it goes into the Nuk. So here we said, Kam b'hamshach of the Lusha HaHug, the Panim, lo nizbayer emisachim nimshachim el Hanuk. So he says, nobody says, there's not a separate set of 10 for the Nuk. V'yesha kazvach, the nimshachim taketh gam el Hanuk, but they immediately go to the Nuk too. So the Kavanah is inside of both of them. Rap Mekavan, so only since she'ein lechem remez bebracha v'sfira, there is no real remez to the bracha and the sfira. Ein sarach l'kavin zos v'na'asim v'chalav, that you don't have to Kavanah for it. He says, let me read Rak Mekavan she'ein lechem remez bebracha v'sfira. We don't have a place we could point out that it's going to the Nuk. Sarach l'kavin zos v'na'asim. So then the Kavanah is it's going to happen by itself. And so therefore you should have the Kavanah that it's going to both places. So let me just clarify in my own mind. What he's saying is that when you get to this particular Tumuna, it really refers to Mochin, to the Chug of the Levushim, of the Chug, the Panim. So that makes a lot of difference of what it is. So now we're bringing it upon it. Dehida hamshacha na'azis kan aim asar shemas Kael, hana'asim b'mis b'pashut, v'eser osis the chasara ekya, v'noida haklal, and we know this general idea. Shah hamshacha the osis he l'zer anpin, that the hamshacha that we're doing for the letters refer to zer anpin, hamshacha the misbar goes to the Nuk. Now we probably know that. And so, therefore, looking at the Tumuna, I'm just saying this for myself, that looking at the Tumuna itself would be a higher level, because it would be the level of Zer Anpin. To try to understand it using its gematria is the lower levels, bringing it down lower, closer to us, something like that. So that's why I'm saying, like probably looking at these things for long periods of time, maybe pronouncing something along with it, I'm not sure, could really be a very powerful tool. So according to this, there are those who say that the hamshacha, the bechinas asara osid nimshacha, this hamshacha, the 10 letters winds up going to zer anpin. Hamshacha, the bechinas misbar nimshachim halanuk, the nuk is always misbar. Let's see if we could get a little bit. He goes through these, and he has like a kuf kaf zayin, and he's going to translate them, and with just a little translation here, in the time that we have. He says, Mahachan dachagat. What does Chachan dachagat mean? The Nai v'chagat, and he said the Nai dachagat, the Panim, the Yisod, the Ima. And then he shows the 3. We saw those already. Yeah, I guess what I should have done was I should have just gone to page Shin Mem, just for the sake of the video, and show you how there's going to be 10 different, here's 3 of them here. Here's another 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, that's 7, and another 3 is 10 on page Shin Mem Aleph, going on like that. So there's, let's go back over here. So he says, did we do that? We did that part already? We're over here. Okay, here we go. A kuf kaf vav. He says, Machachan dachagat, the nai v'chagat, the Panim, the Yisod, the Ima. What does those phrases mean? In a light print, he says like this: Kael the Chesed Rishon. This is the first one. Nimshach Machachan the Chagat. It comes from the Sfiras of Chesed. Chachan is the right line. Chagat is a word for Chesed. The Batzufi Nai v'Chagat. So it goes into this phrase again. This is a ununderstandable phrase. He says, but it's very simple. He says it's going to go into the lower part of Zer Anpin. Perak Tachton, the Perak Emsoy, the Chesed. It's going to go into the Perak Tachton, Perak Emsoy, the Chesed. The Ma. He says, he says, the Ma. He said, what is Ma? Hachasadim Mispashta B'kav Yomim Chacham. Those in Ma means the right side of the right side. Right side means Chesed, and the Chesed of the Chesed, something like that. I don't know. Where's it going to go? So he says it's going to go L'chachan dachagat, the parts of Nai v'chagat, the Panim, the Zun. So it's going to go into Zun. It's going to go up from Nai v'chaga dema the Panim the Yisod the Ima, comes out of the Yisod of Ima. It's going to go to the same address as we have heard before in Zun. Now, the fact that he's using the word Zun, so he's looking at them as one partzuf. Yekaven the Hamshich and the Hachan the Chagat, which is the spheres of Chesed, so you're going to send them down to Chesed, the Partzufim Nai v'Chagat, to those Partzufim, which is really referring to the lower part. Perek Tachton, the Perek Emsoy, the Chesed. Chesed is 3 parts, he says, so this is the top, middle, and bottom. We're only sending this to the bottom, to the middle and the bottom. So he says, what is the Panid the Zun? Midbaga the Chagat. So this is the one I wanted to do. It's going to go for the left side of the Chagat. Kavin as Sharham Shachos, Shal Shemus Kael the Chesadim, Kael the Chesed, Sheni, Nimshach Mibaga. So the Chesed the Sheni is going to come from the left side of the Chagat, which is also known as Gevura, spheres of Gevura. The Partsufi Nai v'Chagat, and it's going to go to the Partsufim called Nai the Chagat, which is the lower 2 Partsufim. I pointed out before that he has Nai come before Chagat here. And later on, when he gets to the back ones, he switches the Chagat to Nai. I'm not sure what he's getting at there. Atachton uperik emsoy the Gevura, and then the middle line of Gevura, that's what it is, the Ben Dema, which would it be when? This is referring to Chesadim, which go down the left line, which is called the line of Baga. They're still Chesadim now. It's the Ben side of the Ma. That's how he translated it. The Bechinas Panim, the Yisod, the Ima, which is the aspect of the face of the Yisod of Ima. The Baga, the Chagat, the Sefiras of Gevura, once again, the Partsufi Nai, the Chagat, the Perek Tachton, the Perek Emsoy, the Gevura, the Ben, the Ma, the Panim, the Zun. And then it's going to go, number Gimel, he says, Kael, the Chesed, Shlishi. It's going to be something different. How's that going to be? So this is the one I want to read here. Nimshach Midati de Chagat, it comes from the Dati de Chagat. What's the Dati de Chagat? What's an actual translation? It means the Tiferes. It's coming from Tiferes. Of the Partsufim of the lower 2 sections of the Nai v'Chagat, Perek Tachton or Perek Emsoy. And again, I point out that he says the Nai first. It goes down. It sounds like it goes down to the lower one first and then to the upper one. I don't know. He says the Partsufi Nai v'Chagat, which is the Perek Tachton, the Perek Emsoy, the Tiferes, the Dema Ben Dema. Chesadim is Pashta Bekav Emsoy Dati. The Chesadim go down the middle line. These are Chesadim. We're always dealing with Chesadim. The Bechinas Panim, the Yisod, the Ima, the Dati, the Chagat is going to go from that aspect of the Panim of Ima, which we said there has to be a law in between there, but here it's going. The Partsufi Nai v'Chagat, the Perek Tachton, the Perek Emsoy, the Tiferes, the Ma Ben the Ma, the Panim, the Zun. Now this one here, I just want to show that there's a switch that takes place in here, I think. Kael the Chesed Revi, which is, what's the Chesed Revi, is Netzach. Nimshem Machachan Benai, the spheres and Netzach, it comes out of Netzach, and Netzach is called Machachan Benai. Okay, so it's the right side of the bottom part of the Nai, or Nai, which is below Chesed, spheres and Netzach. The Partsufi Chagat Benai, from the Perek Emsoy, which is going to be Perek Tachton, Perek Emsoy, Perek Tachton the Netzach. It's going to go from them. It's going to be the Chagat Benai. That's just want to show that it switches there. The Ma, Chesadim is Pashta Bekav Yamim, the Panim, the Yisod, the Ima, the Hachan, the Nai, spheres and Netzach. They're going to go to the same address in Zun. The Partsufi Chagat Benai Beperek Emsoy Beperek Tachton, the Ma, the Panim, the Zun. Why does it say Ma, to the right side of the Panim, the Zun? Let me read it again. Spheres and Netzach, the Partsufi Chagat Benai Perek Emsoy Perek Tachton, the Ma, the Panim, the Zun, which is on the Panim, the Zun. That's not. I'm still not sure about what that meant. That Panim, the Panim. It says, excuse me, that let's go back one time. The Panim, the Yisod, the Ima, the Chachan, the Nai, Sefiras and Netzach, The Partzufi Chagat V'nai, Perak Emsoi, Beperak Tachla the Netzach, the Ma. So he's not translating the Panim de Zun. So he says he doesn't translate the Ma, but why would it be the Ma? It's in the middle line. Why would it be the Ma Ben? I don't really understand that. Okay, well, that's it for today. Trying to get through that, trying to understand.